Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave podcast. This is round 23 in the NRL. It is getting down to the business end of the season where every single game is crucial for that top 8 and top 4 positions on the ladder for those teams to play finals, and another full round this weekend, and the Roosters have the bye. And joining me, I have my special guest tipper, Ella. How you going, Ella?
Good.
That's good. Now, just for the listeners, Ella got 5 out of 8 last week. A pretty good effort. Yeah, pretty good effort. Better than probably what I would do, but I think the best tip of the round that you got right was the Dragons beating the Melbourne Storm. Not a lot of people tipped that one, so well done on that one. So let's go through these games and see what we can tip for the listeners this weekend. We'll do my tips and your tips as well and see if we've got any differences. Anyway, the round kicks off on Thursday night, round 23, with the Rabbitohs playing the Melbourne Storm at Accor Stadium. Now, there is a few changes for the Rabbitohs. Cody Walker is back on deck after missing last week's game with a calf injury, and also Jacob Host is out of the game with an abdominal strain, so Michael Cheekham comes onto the into the back row to replace him. For the Melbourne Storm, Tui Kamakamita is back on deck after missing the Dragons game. He had a groin injury. Big Nelson, Asafa Solomona, he moves to the second row. Eli Katoa is out with a knee injury, so a few changes there. Xavier Coates remains sidelined with a hamstring injury. This game being played at the Rabbitohs home ground, at Accor Stadium. Now, if we look at the record of these two teams recently, we will see that last time they played was on, it was Anzac Day. The Melbourne Storm coming away with a big victory, 54 points to 20. The last 5 games, the Melbourne Storm have just lost one against the Dragons last week, which Ella correctly tipped. But previous to that, 4 straight wins out of the last 5. And the Rabbitohs, well, they are 2 wins out of their last 5. So, look, I don't think the Rabbitohs will make the finals this year. The Melbourne Storm, they are hanging on to a 2-point lead in the competition at the moment. So they may get the minor premiership. The Panthers are only 2 points behind them. So it is a battle between those two. Look, who are you going to tip, Ella? The Rabbitohs or the Storm in this one?
The Storm.
The Storm, okay, very good choice there. Look, I think the Melbourne Storm will get the win as well. I just think last week was a little bit of a speed bump. The Melbourne Storm, they don't tend to lose 2 games in a row too often. So, look, I think the Rabbitohs, they'll be up for the challenge. I just think the way their season has gone this year, they will find it difficult to beat the Melbourne Storm. The first game on Friday night comes to us from Cbus Super Stadium up there on the Gold Coast, 6 p.m. Sees the Gold Coast Titans taking on the Cronulla Sharks. Now, the Gold Coast Titans, they sit in 13th 11th spot on the ladder on 22 points, and the Sharks are on 30 points in the top four for now. They've got the Bulldogs and the Cowboys breathing down their necks on 28 points. So, look, the Titans, they have been one of the form teams of the competition of late. They have been having some great wins of late. They have 4 out of their last 5 wins. Their only loss was against the Sea Eagles a while ago, 38 points to 8. The Sharkies, they have been struggling a little bit of late, and they're just hanging in there in that top 4. They won last week against the Rabbitohs, lost to the Cowboys, and that big win against the Tigers. Now, for the Titans, just a one change. Cleese Haas replaces Bo Firma. He's out of this game after suffering injury against the win against the Broncos. Keenan Palacia joins the bench. AJ Brimson, is there going to be a spot for him in this side? He's listed as 18th man. He's still continuing. He's being monitored with his groin injury that he has. So will he play? I don't know. And I think that it's going to be hard to find a place in this side for him. I think he may have to, if he plays, he'll have to be number 14, I think, because Keanu Kinney has been setting the world on fire. For the Sharks, they have lost Braden Trindle, so a few changes to them. He suffered a hamstring injury. Blake Brayley comes into number 7 from the number 9. Cameron McInnes moves to hooker, and Jack Williams starts at lock. Tom Hazelton returns from a foot injury onto the bench. Look, I really think that the Titans, they are the better side at the moment. They have been playing better footy. That they got a win against the Sharks at Shark Park earlier this year, 20 points to 16. I just think the form that the Titans are in, Des is getting them fired up for the right part of the season. They are still in there with a minute chance of making the finals. They have to win every single game, mind you. I'm going to tip the Titans. Oh, sorry, I should have went to you first, Ella.
Yeah.
Who are you going to tip in this game, the Titans or the Sharks?
I don't know.
You went the Titans last week. You got that victory. You got that tip correct. This is being played at the Titans' home ground. Who do you think?
Sharks.
You're going to go the Sharks, okay? I'm going to go the Titans. So
I don't know why I picked the Sharks, but anyway.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. The Sharkies, they may get the victory, but I'm going to go the Titans in that one. I think they are just on a roll at the moment. Oh, big game.
Panthers.
Well, I already know your tip in this one. The Panthers, yes, of course. The big game, the big battle of the West, Friday, 8 p.m. at Commbank Stadium. Parramatta versus Penrith. 2 rivals go at it. The Eels go into the same side that got the win against the Warriors last week over there in New Zealand. Dane Laurie for the Panthers returns. And that Dylan Edwards is at least one more week away with a knee injury, so not too many changes for the Panthers either. Look, the Panthers, they are only 2 points away from the Melbourne Storm in this race for the minor premiership. 2 traditional rivals. The Eels would have got confidence, I guess, from last week's win over there in New Zealand. The Panthers, they had a win last week against the Newcastle Knights at Penrith. So, look, I think this is going to be... they played earlier on this year. It was 26 points to 18 up at Penrith. My favourite game of the year, Parramatta and Penrith at Penrith, being a Parramatta fan living in Penrith. They got the chocolates on that day. Penrith, they are 4 from their last 5, having lost to the Cowboys 16 points to 6 at home. The Eels they're 1 from their last 5 after having that win last week against the Warriors. Look, I think this game could be anything. Look, the Eels are massive outsiders to to win this game. Obviously, no Mitchell Moses for the rest of the year, but I think that, look, the Battle of the West, I think at home, I think Parramatta, look, you never know what's going to turn up in this game. These two rivals, they love playing against each other. Look, a lot of people will tip the Panthers like Ella has.
Yep. You already knew I will.
Yes, I already knew that one. Look, I'm going to go on the outsider here. I'm going to go with Parramatta.
How dare you?
I'm going to go with Parramatta. Look, I just think they may just step it up a little bit against the Panthers, being those rivals that they are, but it's going to be very tough for Parramatta to get that win. But I'm going to tip my team, the Parramatta Eels. Super Saturday goes down to Canberra. 3 p.m. sees the Raiders taking on the Sea Eagles down there. Ethan Strange returns to 5'8" after being rested last week. Zach Hosking will miss the rest of the season due to a shoulder injury. That's disappointing for the Raiders. For Manly, Lehigh Hopewadi returns from a facial injury. Tommy Talau, he goes to the centres. Ben Travojevic, he goes to the bench. And good news as well for Manly fans, Lachlan Croker makes his long-awaited return from concussion symptoms. And also Hamoli Olakawatu, he returns from suspension. Obviously, he got suspended from that melee in State of Origin game number 3 where he wasn't playing. He entered the field of play and got involved into that one. So, look, Ruben Garrick and Jason Saab have been named to play despite suffering head knocks against the Roosters in round 21 2 weeks ago. So, look, both these sides, the Raiders, they're on 24 points, just 2 points out of the 8. The Sea Eagles in 7th spot on 27 points. So it's a more desperate game for the Raiders, trying to get into that top 8. They actually got a win on the 3rd of May, Friday the 3rd of May, earlier on in the season, 26 points to 24 at Brookvale Oval. The Manly Sea Eagles, they are 3 out of their last 5, and the Canberra Raiders 2 out of their last 5. Look, Sea Eagles away down in Canberra. As I said, Canberra are pretty desperate to get this win to try and get into that top 8. Who are you going to tip, Bella?
Sea Eagles.
Sea Eagles? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to go the Sea Eagles as well in this one. Look, I just think they want to try and get further up the ladder just a little bit more. Look, Canberra will be tough to beat at home, but I think Sea Eagles will get the win. First time that Josh Papali'i will play at home. After this will be his 301st game, so congratulations to him last week, obviously playing 300 games in the NRL. The next game on Saturday, our Queensland derby, this one, the Cowboys versus the Broncos up there at Queensland Commbank Stadium. The Cowboys on 28 points in 6th position. The Broncos, they're in 14th spot on 20 points. It's going to be, I think their season is done at the moment, or I think their season is done for 2024. They just have had some bad losses in the last few weeks. In fact, they have won 1 game out of their last 5. They got smashed by the Titans 46-18. It was a 36-0 36-0 second half to the Titans, so very embarrassing for the Broncos. The Broncos did beat the Cowboys earlier on in the season, but that was in March this year, 38 points to 12 at Suncorp Stadium. The Cowboys, they are slowly getting towards the finals, so they're slowly getting some good form. Good win against the Panthers, a small 1-point loss against the Sea Eagles, but 3 straight wins after that sees them in 6th spot. So they've still got 1 bye to come this year, which will come in pretty handy at this time of year. Cowboys team, They have Ruben Cotter. He comes back from concussion protocols. And also, Helam Lukey has been named despite suffering a head knock against the Tigers. Justin Olam got sent off in that tackle as well. Now, a very special game, this one. The Cowboys are going back to a Carl Webb-inspired jersey that he played in for the Cowboys a few years ago now, and also a very special touch with the number 12 jersey has been retired for this game in honour of Carl Webb, who sadly passed away last year. Rest in peace, Carl. So Jeremiah Nanai, who usually wears number 12, he will wear jersey number 24. So a very nice touch there from the North Queensland Cowboys. Obviously, the Carl Webb also played for the Brisbane Broncos as well. Look, I just think, let's have a look. Payne Haas and Ezra Mam, two big guns, are out for the season. Payne Haas with a foot injury, Ezra Mam with an ankle injury. So Josh Rogers takes over at 5'8". Xavier Willison comes in the front row. So Tristan Saylor has been added to the bench. But look, I just think the season that the Broncos are having at the moment, unfortunately, I think the Cowboys will get this job done. I think the Cowboys have more to play for to try and force their way into a top 4 position. This game is at their home ground. Ella, who are you tipping in this one? Cowboys or Broncos?
Cowboys.
Cowboys, yes.
Yeah.
Cowboys for me too. Very smart selection there. Look, this next game, Saturday, 7:35 p.m. at Dragons and Bulldogs. That's it. This is going to be a cracker of a game. And you know why? Because these two teams are in form, and the Bulldogs are in 5th spot. The Dragons are in 8th spot on 26 points, just hanging in there in that 8th spot. 2 points in front of the Dolphins. And look, this is going to be a cracker. This game is already sold out at Cogra Oval, and this will be a big game. So the Dragons, they broke a 25-year hoodoo last week in Melbourne. Jack Bird has been named among the reserves, trying to force his way into the side. Cameron Ciraldo for the Bulldogs has named the same team that got the job done against the Raiders. So, look, Josh Curran, he has been named to play. He did have a little bit of a shoulder problem last Sunday, but he has been named to play. So, look, this is going to be a cracker of a game. Two sides trying to get into the finals for the first time in a long time. And, who do you tip? I think the Dragons, they are at home. They tend to have a bit of up and down sometimes. The Bulldogs gave them a touch-up earlier on in the year, 44 points to 12. They are the Bulldogs 4 from their last 5. The Dragons are 3 from their last 5. They're going on a bit of a win-loss. So if you go by that, it is a time for them to lose. But in saying that, they would have got massive confidence out of that win down in Melbourne, and they are back at home. They're at their spiritual home, Cogra Oval. Who are you going to tip, Ella, in this one, the Dragons or the Bulldogs?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. It is a very tough one to choose because this game could be anything. Red or white or blue or white? Blue and white.
I'm going to go with the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs? Okay. Yeah, geez, I don't know who to go for here. Look, I'm going to go the Dragons.
Okay.
I'm going to go the Dragons. As good as the Bulldogs are playing, and their defence is the second best in the competition, I think the Dragons would have got massive confidence. If they can play the same way that they did last week against the Melbourne Storm, they will get the win against the Bulldogs. The next game sees Sunday, Sunday, 2 p.m, the Dolphins and the Warriors. Now, a pretty crucial game for the Dolphins. They sit on 24 points in ninth position, just 2 points behind the Dragons. So they will want to keep in touch with that top 8 and maybe just get a top 8 position. The Warriors, unfortunately, are in 13th spot on 21 points. They obviously lost last week at home against the Parramatta Eels. So look, they haven't had a season that they would have wanted to have. These two sides played back in May this year. The Warriors got a 4-point win against the Dolphins over there in New Zealand. These two sides are probably about the same. The Dolphins one win out of their last 5. The Warriors 2 wins out of their last 5. It's pretty sad to see, to be honest, with the Dolphins. They were hanging around that 4th spot for a long time this season. I was hoping they could make the finals for the first time. There still is a chance that they can. This game being played at Suncorp Stadium, 9th versus 13th. Ella, who are you tipping in this one?
The Dolphins.
Dolphins, yes. I'm going to go the Dolphins as well in this one. I just think that they have more to play for this weekend than the Warriors. The Warriors, the announcement this weekend, yesterday I think it was, that Shaun Johnson will be retiring at the end of this year. So congratulations to Shaun on his career in the NRL, debuted in 2011. Obviously played in the 2011 Grand Final. Led the Warriors to a prelim final last season as well. Was a whisker off the Dally M Player of the Year. But congratulations to Shaun Johnson, a great career for the Warriors and the Cronulla Sharks as well as New Zealand as well. So it'll be exciting to see him play for the rest of the year as well. The next game on Sunday sees the Knights taking on the West Tigers up there at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Knights in 12th spot on the ladder, 22 points. So I like the Titans as well. They will need to win every single game to have a chance at making the finals. They're on 22 points, so they are 4 points out of the 8 at the moment. They will have to win every game and rely on other results to go their way. I don't think they'll make the 8. The Tigers, they are anchored at the moment on the bottom of the ladder. They still have a bye to come. They sit in 17th spot on 12 points. They do have a bye, which will put them to 14 points. The Eels just above them on 16 points. In this game, this game being played, as I said, at McDonald Jones Stadium. Only one change. Brodie Jones comes into the side. Jacob Saifidi is sidelined with a calf injury, and Bradman Best still remains sidelined with a hamstring injury. Adam Dewey, good news for the Tigers fans. He is back in the centres after a 2-game break. Justin Olam is unfortunately suspended. Aiden Caesar returns from suspension. So a couple of players coming back for them. Look, up there in Newcastle, I think this is going to be a tough job for the Tigers. They have been playing okay football, unfortunately not getting the wins. They've had some big scores against them over the last few weeks. 48 points last week, 28, 42, 58, 40. But they can score points. The Newcastle Knights, 3 straight losses and 2 wins previous to that. And they played pretty well against the Penrith Panthers last week. They really took it to them, but unfortunately coming down with a loss. Ella, who are you going to tip in this one, the Knights or the Tigers?
The Knights.
The Knights, yeah, good choice. I'm going to go the Knights as well in that one. And as I mentioned, the Sydney Roosters have the bye this weekend, so pretty timely for them as they will get another 2 points and go to 32 points. So, recapping our tips. Ella, your tips are Rabbitohs. No, sorry, Melbourne Storm.
Sharks, I'm
Sharks.
sure it was.
Yeah, Panthers.
Panthers. Sea
Seagulls. Yep.
Cowboys. Bulldogs. Dolphins. And Knights.
Okay, and my tips as well are the Storm. So we agree on that one.
Yep.
I'm gonna go the Titans in this one.
Oh.
So we've got a difference there. I'm gonna go Parramatta in the next one.
Of course you would.
So we've got a different one there. I'm going to go the Sea Eagles. I'm going to go the Cowboys. I'm going to go the Dragons in that one against the Bulldogs. So there's another difference there. I'm going to go the Dolphins and I'm going to go the Knights as well. Okay. So we've got 3 different.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we go. Yes. One of us might get a perfect round. One of us might get 5.
Yeah.
How many do you think you're going to get this weekend out of 8?
Maybe 6. 6? I don't know.
Okay, that's pretty fair.
Might be 7, might be 8,
okay.
Might be less.
Yeah.
But I think 6.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's not too bad. That's a good score every week. If you can do that every week consistently, you'll win tipping comps. So thank you very much for listening. Ella, thank you very much for joining me once again. We'll do this again next week for round 24. So thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome.
And listen, thank you for listening to this podcast. You can find it on Apple, Spotify. If you can, please give it a 5-star rating and review. Please follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook as well. That would be most appreciated. And if you're not an Eel, then I hope your team gets up for victory this weekend. As long as it's not the Panthers. Only joking. Look, it's gonna be a great game. The Eels and the Panthers. Can't wait. I'll be there at Commbank Stadium on Friday night. So if you see me out and about, please come and say good day, and we'll have a chat about the game. That is for sure. But that's enough for this tipping podcast this week. May the best teams win. Enjoy your footy this weekend, and we'll be back next time. Thank you very much, and go Para. The Para Cave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Para Cave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. See you next time.